Everybody, it's Ellen Brown with GlassRoots, and I'm here to tell you with our lecture series for our WorkerSpace um, program, and I'm excited to tell you about our program for today. We're going to be talking about seasonality in your business and how you can use that as an opportunity for growth. But let me start off by saying that welcome to GlassRoots Virtual Studios. And again, I'm Ellen Brown, and I am the business instructor at GlassRoots. You can find me up in the classroom teaching adults and young people entrepreneurial skills. We're glad to finally be resuming some of our programming at GlassRoots in Newark, New Jersey. As I said, I work upstairs in the classroom, and GlassRoots is a glass art studio that works to ignite and build the cultural and economic vitality of our community through the glass arts with a focus on youth and on young adults. While access to our studios is still limited, each week we're bringing activities to you through Facebook and Instagram and on our website. Please be sure to sign up for our email list to get our full week schedule ahead of time by sending your email address to info@glassroots.org, and then follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. We continue to acknowledge what's going on in our communities and in our country and recommit ourselves to making our art with and for our community in support of social justice, to hold programs that create economic opportunity, and to tell our young students that they can be agents of change, to open their eyes to opportunities, and to encourage them to rise up and fully embrace their potential. It gives me a chill every time I read it. Like I said, today I'm going to be talking about seasonality in your business, and I have a few little slides. I'm using paper today. It just is working better. So it's time to think about seasonality, growth opportunities to build for your business. In this discussion, I'm going to focus on 4 areas. I'm going to talk about your presence, your products, your pivot, and also your prices, just a little bit. Okay, and these will give you a really good sense of things to be thinking about now as we're about to change seasons. Of course, it's still the height of summer, but we should be thinking about fall and Thanksgiving and Halloween as both an adult and a kid's holiday, about back to school, whatever form that's going to take, school at home as well as school in classroom. And of course, all of the holidays in December, festive season. You may not have ever thought about seasonality. You may think about it all the time in your business. But one of the things that we have now that we kind of didn't before is that normally you would be thinking about the fall in the spring or maybe even the winter of the previous year. Now everything has been sort of thrown off so much that we have an opportunity that we should think of in that way to present products and communicate with potential customers in a new way based on the time that's going to be coming up right now. It's not too late to be thinking about the fall and the winter. So I'm suggesting that we all create some imagination time. And I had somebody say to me once, do you mean imaginary time? Because they said, I don't have any extra time. But you can carve out an hour for yourself to think more broadly about your business and in some new ways and with a new type of framework. One important part of that framework is thinking about how customers are acting these days. And trends show that customers are thinking about their purchases in a much more mindful, careful, social justice informed kind of way. They want to have a relationship often with the person that they're buying from. They want to know some things about the history and impact of the products that they're choosing. And that all means opportunities for the small maker like ourselves. So make some time and realize that we've got a seasonal opportunity like no other. Who went on a Zoom room every single day in January of this year? Things have changed so much, but think about the opportunities that it may generate for us. Okay, so going to the 4 areas. Starting off with presence. Your presence is, in this case, online presence. Even those of you who may have a brick and mortar store or may sell retail in a location where people can come, most of us are doing most of our selling online. And we want to think about our presence online very comprehensively. I mentioned this way back in March, it seems like in the before times, to take a look at refreshing your website. This is another time to think about that, and to make sure that you go through these components that I'm going to list now, that you look at your website and you think about how it's communicating to your customer. Is everything super clear? Don't have words that have a meaning that might not be totally obvious. Make everything clear and easy for people to understand. Does your website express your values? Does it talk about the things or the causes that are important to you? Are you making donations as a part of your business? Make sure that that's clear and upfront. It's a point of connection to people that can make your business the one that they decide they'd like to do business with, because you have a shared value system. You want to think, I've lost my note there. Oh, you want to think about telling your story also, and the story of your products. What brought you to where you are today? What brought you to this kind of business? Is it something that you've wanted to do your whole life? Is it something that you discovered as a surprise when you took a class and said, oh my gosh, I love this? What brought you to that? Or is it something deeper that you're trying to express? Tell those stories. Make your web presence both authentic and engaging. And then same thing about your products. If you have, every product has a story, but you need to look for the story that's in yours and make sure that it's coming through in your website. Is it made in America? Is it especially targeted for a certain kind of use that people might be surprised about? Make sure that your products are speaking when you go over your website and look at it. Remember the validations. Validations are really your comments page, the things that you get from your customers, but taking out the very best ones and putting them up front where people can really see them. Think strategically about where the places that you want people to visit or you want to lead them to in your website, and use those validations to do that. You usually want to try and pick 3 kinds of validations. One that validates the quality of your product or the benefits that your product offers. One that talks about working with you and your customer service. And so you want to look for those validations and then make them simple, make them easy to follow, and get those up front where you know that people will see it. The last one is, does your website really work? And here I had an embarrassing experience a little while ago when I was teaching a class and someone wanted to introduce me as the instructor, and they had my website up and they pushed on screen to my about section and it didn't connect. So I fixed it the next day, but you want to be sure that everything is working the way that you think it is. The way I suggest to do that is to take a half an hour, each day. So you carve out 1 hour for the imagination, right? And a half an hour each day and go through your website and push every single button and just make sure that everything works and it's connecting in the way that you want it to, and connecting to the, and you like the way that the information looks that it connects to. So, and just keep going until it works. And the reason I say half an hour is so that if you find one or two things, you have a chance during that time usually to fix it. You don't want to get a whole list of things and then try and fix them all, because it can be overwhelming, or at least for me, it would be overwhelming. So take it a little bit at a time, and half an hour each day, you should be able to get through it. Okay. So then the next thing that we want to talk about are your products. And in terms of your products, there are some really great things that you can think about seasonally that you can introduce, and introduce them in almost like a testing oriented kind of way, so that you're seeing what things work, what things resonate with people and customers as they come to your website. There's some low risk ways to do this seasonally, and really smart ways, I think. And then there's some that are a little bit higher risk. You want to weigh them up and decide what makes the most sense for you. But the first thing that you'd like to take a look at, just look this way, it's easier, is maybe you want to give your customers more power. So if you had, if you were selling your product in sets, for example, maybe you make clothes, or you make jewelry, you sell things in sets. How about giving your customer, for this season, for back to school, for Halloween, whatever it is, an opportunity to make the sets mix and match of their choice? And you can do that, maybe on a premium basis in terms of pricing. Give something like that a try. You can also think about packaging discounts, and we've all seen these, but for this season or for these week or several days, buy one, get one 25% off, or refer a friend and have a discount, things like that, that can, especially for this time of year, whether it's Thanksgiving, whatever it is, you build it around your promotion around that. You can also, a very easy one is seasonal packaging, where you just change the color of your packaging, or you add icons and features to your packaging that make it reflect the season, and show that on your website so people know that if they purchase that for a gift, or they purchase it for themselves, that they're going to, especially if they're giving it as a gift, that the person will, who's receiving it, will see that. And then another thought, especially at the holiday season, is a donation with purchase. So where you have expressed your values at the beginning of that we talked about at the beginning, and that is clear on your website, and then you can tie that to a donation with purchase, whether it is a financial donation, a donation of your time. Perhaps you'll do more, you'll be able to volunteer and add an hour for every purchase or something like that. Be creative. There are lots of different things that you can do, and that give you different things that you can announce to your customers and keep them interested in keeping them, and keep them coming back to your website. Some of the higher risk things that you might think about could be actually creating a seasonal line in your products, something that is, clearly for winter or for December holidays. The risk with that, of course, is that you really want to be careful with your timing, that you have it developed in time, that people can actually purchase it, and that you're able to get it in front of them, and it's going to be compelling enough that they'll want to buy it right away. So you do want to have calls to action in your website and in your product descriptions and so on, that really encourage people, once they've seen it, let's buy it right now. The risk with this, of course, is that you miss on one of the timing issues and people don't have time to purchase, and you end up stuck with products that are just off season. So think carefully about that, but for some people, it's going to be exactly the right thing to do. Okay, and then earlier this year, we also talked about pivoting your products. I don't know how many people were able to think of a pivot or execute a pivot. What I mean when I talk about pivot is not necessarily developing a whole new set of products, but developing products that that come from things that you're already doing, right? And that you can use in a different way. And one thing that has shown to be really, really popular, not surprisingly, in COVID times, is kits, especially for makers. I mean, if you are a maker, that you can create a kit related to the thing that you make. And remember, when you're making that kind of a kit, whether it's for adults or for children, what you're really selling is accomplishment. And so keeping it simple, keeping it easy, having everything that the customer will need right there in the kit are the kinds of things that are going to sell it. And it is, it might be easier than you think, and with more creative options than you think. One example that I like to give that I saw someone very successful with was using their sketches, and we all sketch in one way or another, but using their sketches as a kit where they packaged a few of their sketches, a simple watercolor and paintbrush kit, and a little bit of information on color theory, and some ideas about how they might go about painting it. And then the kicker was that they put in a frame, not a wooden frame, just a nice matte, cardboard, heavy paper frame. And it has been very successful, not very expensive for them to put together at all. So think about things like that, just, a little bit away from how you think about the work that you're already doing and whether there might be a market for it. And think, especially for kids, people are really desperate for good activities, things that they feel good about for their kids to do. And also, parents need a respite. Something that they can do easily at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock when they finally have a moment for themselves. Those are the kinds of relaxing activities and kits that really seem to be having a lot of success, and that we as makers, have a little bit of a leg up in putting together. So think about that. Did I miss anything here? Oh yeah, creating products and exploring print on demand. So if you are an artist and you have lots of images that you can use, now there are many, many things that can be printed on demand. Most of you are familiar with this, but I just wanted to mention it. Mugs and t-shirts and things like that. And because you're printing on demand, you don't have to take the risk of building up a lot of inventory and things like that. You price appropriately so that you can put some of that artwork maybe along with an inspirational saying or something like that now as seasonal gift opportunities for your customers. And again, it's that ever important announcement that you can use for your marketing material. Okay, and then the last thing that I wanted to just talk a little bit about, week before last, we talked about pricing. And take a few minutes as you're going into the new season and thinking about these new ways of talking about your products and pivots and so on, to look at your pricing again too. Just take a moment to calculate your costs, check them, make sure you've got everything down, that you really understand them well, because there's, pricing is crazy. It has everything to do with cost, and it has nothing to do with cost. It has everything to do with cost because you have to cover your costs, with your prices. Otherwise, unless you're using it as a promotional sale, you won't be able to stay in business because you will lose money when you sell your products. But it has nothing to do with cost because the customer is not concerned with that. They just know what they like and whether the price seems fair to them. And how you describe your product, how you express your values. This is a whole package that you're selling now. So think about that as you look at the landscape. That means look at other products that are similar to yours, that are handmade products. I don't suggest just going to Etsy, although it is a place that you might start. But many times Etsy sellers don't necessarily have their prices as accurate as possible either. So look around and really try and get a sense so that you can price your products confidently, and know that most makers price their products too low, right? There's room there. Many times a higher price is also associated with quality. So think about it in that way and test it. Remember, nothing is cast in stone. You can always adjust your prices as you go. Okay, so those are the 4 things that I wanted to talk about today. And I want to give you a little heads up about not next week, but the week after next. So we're doing something special next week, but the following week, we'll have an interview with Miss Kimberly Williams. I'm very excited about it. She is with the Newark Business Hub and is a self-identified super connector, but she's also talking about some very cool new ways of doing business. We've talked about some of the traditional things. She's going to tell us about how entrepreneurs are collaborating together to do more than they could do as individuals. So many things that will be really useful and exciting to us. So please tune in then. And with that, I want to end, if I can find my notes, yes, by saying that we are really glad and appreciative that we can provide these virtual studios free of charge to our students and to the community at large. But if you're able to make a donation or a gift to support our ongoing operations, we would totally appreciate that. And please feel free to make a donation online at glassroots.org /donate. We encourage you to visit our website and learn more about GlassRoots at-home programs and those programs that we're offering on-site in our studio as we go forward into the fall. You can also purchase products made during these virtual programs and other beautiful art in our online gift shop. So thank you so much for joining us. And remember to tune in next week and also later this week for our upcoming programs. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.